सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति।
I have a question.
நீங்க மியூட் பண்ணிட்டு yes.
The volume also.
I'm referring to chapter 9, verse 31, Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita, okay.
Wherein you had mentioned Achara. Achara and Dharma are essential.
Yes.
Achara is subdivided into Yama, Niyama.
Niyama, correct.
Niyama you have Brahmacharya.
Yes.
Brahmacharya is conserving energy for a higher purpose.
Correct.
That's what?
Yes.
Conserving energy for higher purpose.
Correct.
Now, is the same thing standardization, which we were talking a couple of years back? Standardization. You don't have a choice.
Correct.
You limit your ability to choose.
Yes.
Is this similar to that? Synonym to that?
Okay. The question is standardization similar to brahmacharya?
Yes.
That's what the question is. Correct?
Yes, and I have one more question also after that.
Yeah. So the first question is standardization similar to brahmacharya? We don't equate standardization to brahmacharya. You can say of the various ways to practice brahmacharya, standardization is one technique.
Okay.
You don't equate standardization to brahmacharya. You don't equate it like that. Of the various ways to practice brahmacharya, you can say standardization is one technique.
It's more of a crude technique, can you say so?
No, we don't have to qualify it like that. You don't have to qualify it as crude or anything, but there is a technique.
But brahmacharya is something little more profound than standardization.
Yes, because in standardization, we talk about purely a choices that you made already or choices that you keep at what you have decided and you stick to the decisions that is made so that you don't get into temptations again and again and again. So standardization is a purely related to a material object of where you say that yes, I have made certain decisions. And having made certain decision, you keep sticking to that. For example, if you say I am choosing Reynolds pen, what does standardization mean? How many ever pens are there? You will stick to, because more or less it's all one and the same thing. You stick to that. Opposite of standardization is each and everything that is there, the mind will want to experiment and explore. In that process of wanting to experiment and explore everything, it is wasting the energies. So the energies are being wasted in choosing the material things again and again and again. Therefore, standardization says choose something, decide on something and stick to it. That's all. That sticking to part is what control is all about. That sticking to part is what is called self-control. So it is one of the methods to practice self-control. Standardization is a technique by which you practice one of the methods to practice self-control. In Yama and Niyama, when we spoke about that Yama and Niyama that day, one of the disciplines that we spoke about is Brahmacharya. In the context of Yama and Niyama, Brahmacharya means one general misunderstanding of Brahmacharya is not getting into what people what is so-called inappropriate relationship. Practicing Brahmacharya is not getting into inappropriate relationship. But then that opens up another discussion about what is appropriate relationship. That opens up one whole area of discussion. So generally, what do we talk about Brahmacharya? Brahmacharyam is the capacity to say no is Brahmacharya. The mind keeps saying yes, yes, yes to everything. Very difficult is to say no. So what is Brahmacharyam? Brahmacharyam is the mind's capacity to say no. No, because it is not the right thing. It is inappropriate. Since it is not the right thing, since it is inappropriate, I say no. What is implied here in all these Yama Niyama disciplines? What is implied here is a person has a very basic knowledge of, it is implied, the person has a very fundamental basic knowledge of what dharma and what adharma is, as a result of which is able to stick to this Yama and Niyama practices. It is implied here. Without that, without bringing in the concept of dharma and adharma, Yama Niyama has no relevance. You cannot generally talk about, it's not a general self-control. Like, even a terrorist practices self-control. Even a terrorist also has to practice discipline. In fact, he has to be more disciplined than his discipline is far more rigorous than anybody. But then will we say that he's practicing Brahmacharya? No, because all this discussion of Yama, Niyama and all that, Achara, presupposes a human being is aware of what is dharma. What is dharma and what is adharma? That person is aware of it. Verse number 30, chapter 18. 30, 31, 32 of chapter 18, he talks about the Sattvic Buddhi, Rajasic Buddhi and Tamasic Buddhi. Chapter 18, verses 30, 31 and 32. Shankar, number correct? 30, 31, 32, chapter 18, where he talks about Sattvic Buddhi, Rajasic Buddhi and Tamasic Buddhi. In the context of Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic Buddhi, he says, Sattvic intellect, knows fear and fearlessness, freedom and bondage. In Rajasic intellect and Tamasic intellect, the word dharma, adharma is used. It means what? Intellect understands the distinction between dharma and adharma. So for achara to practice, it is presupposed that you have some knowledge of what dharma and adharma is. Achara comes only. Achara means what you have considered as dharma, you want to stick to that. You want to practice whatever you consider as dharma, you want to stick to that. That is called achara, discipline. Achara literally means lifestyle. The Sanskrit word achara, when you translate it in English, how would you translate the word achara into English? It's a lifestyle. It's a particular way of lifestyle. Yeah, Sanskrit body, grammatical body, acharan lifestyle than translation. Nowadays, what they talk about lifestyle, in those days they call it as achara. Now, the word achara looks like a very superstitious word, very mechanical, superstitious word, but lifestyle looks like a very sophisticated modern word, but both means the same thing. So, what lifestyle you lead is based on what is your understanding of dharma and adharma. Are you okay till now? The challenge here is who or what defines dharma. That's the challenge. In Vedanta, we take the stance that it is Shastras alone that has the capacity to decide what is dharma and what is adharma. In the modern, where no achara is being followed, no discipline is being followed nowadays, is because everybody believes that they can decide what is right and what is wrong. I know what is right, what is wrong. I decide what is right and what is wrong. According to my decision of what is right and what is wrong, I follow. On what basis one's own intellect decides what is right and what is wrong? Most of the time, the intellect is not guided or wrongly guided. That's why I keep repeating the same question again and again and again. Action and emotion has to be guided by the intellect. Common sense, very clear. Action has to be guided is very clear. Emotion has to be guided is also very clear. And action and emotion has to be guided by the intellect is very clear. The question, what guides the intellect? What guides intellect? Self-guide, sir. No. It's not self-guide. It is a Shastra that can. It is the Shastra. It is the knowledge of Vedanta that guides the intellect. That is why we say the only way to strengthen the intellect is through the study of Shastra. If we say, it means what? It is what is said there has to be followed. But then the question is, well, but then they have said it 2000 years back, which will not be relevant today. So we have to change it according to the changing time. So everybody comes up with their own opinions and all these. As a result of this confusion in thinking, what has happened? Everybody lead a lifestyle based on their likes and dislikes, but give it a moral coloring saying, I am doing what I think is the right thing to do. It's not what you think is the right thing to do. What is said in the Shastra as the right thing to do. Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te, Bhagavad Gita. How many times he has said it very clearly. Therefore, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Vyavastito. In deciding the matters, you don't decide by yourself. It is the Shastra alone that can decide. So, following that lifestyle suggested by the Shastra is called Achara. Number one. Why they suggest that lifestyle? Why do they suggest a specific lifestyle? That specific lifestyle is important for self-purification. Technically, it is called Chitta Shuddhi. You can call it a self-purification or you can call it a self-management. It is just a change of words, that's all. It doesn't make any difference. Previously, it used to be the orthodox word is self-purification. Nowadays, people don't like the word purification. People like the word self-management. It doesn't matter. Use whatever word you want, but ultimately what it means is something is guiding you, telling you what you should do and what you should not do. Something that is guiding you and telling you what you should do and what you should not do is the practice of Achara, Yama and Niyama, all those disciplines. Since he keeps using these technical words, we have to keep explaining all this. Otherwise, we don't even want to talk. We don't even want to. We want to forget these words from our vocabulary itself. But then, since he is referring these words, we have to refer to those concepts. You follow what I'm saying? So the word there, Achara, is more comprehensive thing. Of that, one thing is standardization. Of the very many ways, one method is standardization. All brahmacharya is focused on one thing. What? A valuable resource called time is there and it should not be wasted. That's all. The idea is what? There is a valuable resource called time. That valuable resource called time shouldn't be wasted. How to make up how to educate a human being on that? Like, for example, we are very careful in spending each and every rupee, no? How careful we are, how much we think before spending each and every penny, each and every rupee. Because we know the value of it. We know the value of it. Now, what is much more valuable than that is the time, and that shouldn't get wasted. Wasted in what? Getting deeper and deeper into this ragadvesha led lifestyle and going through the cycle of birth and death again and again and again. Instead of that, what is the prescribed method? Stage number 1, self-purification. Stage number 2, contemplation, meditation. Finally, self-realization. Chapter 5, the sequence, yogi, sannyasi, jnani. That's how to drive a human being to this lifestyle of yogi, sannyasi, and jnani. Okay, jnani is an enlightened state. Let us not worry about that.
Yes.
So they worry about the 2 stages, yogi and sannyasi. So how to guide a person, how to educate a person, or how to make a person understand the importance of the lifestyle of yogi and sannyasi, that's the challenge. One method he suggested is the karma yoga method. From chapter 7 to chapter 12, he's suggesting the bhakti yoga method. Chapter 13 and chapter 15, he is going to talk about the intellectual method, the sannyasi method. And then in 17th and 18th chapter, he realized that nothing works. No karma yoga method is working, no bhakti yoga method is working, no sannyasa method is working. So in 17th chapter, what he reduces to? Ahara, food learn he starts. Where he starts in chapter 2 and how he is concluding in chapter 17 and chapter 18. So in chapter 18, he says, at least do yajna dana tapas. So every thing he keeps, he's not diluting it, he's breaking it down into the smaller and smaller and smaller steps. Since he's breaking it into smaller and smaller steps, in Bhagavad Gita, he comes from the highest step to the lower step. Now in these classes, how are we trying to go from the baby step to the higher step? And what is a baby step? Yama, niyama, this kind of lifestyle and all is the baby step. You lead this kind of a lifestyle. This lifestyle is very important in convincing you to lead a life of karma yoga. That karma yoga lifestyle will mature you to a lifestyle of sannyasa, contemplation, Nididhyasana, meditation, self-realization. So, what is this yama, niyama, achara, lifestyle and all? In this sequence, where does it fit in? It fits in to prepare you for a lifestyle of karma yoga. First he says, do karma yoga. Isavasya Upanishad says, renounce. Simply renounce. What is your problem? Bhagavad Gita says, no. Renunciation is very difficult. Karma yoga is very easy. Where karma yoga is very easy? Where yajna karma is very, where yajna karma is very easy. That itself looks like a state of self-realization. Karma yoga, yajna karma itself looks like a state of moksha, self-realization. Now, so it comes down further. What is coming down further? How to mature a human being so that the human being can practice karma yoga. Preparatory practices. What are the preparatory practices? A prescribed lifestyle. A prescribed lifestyle. In a prescribed lifestyle, you don't pick and choose. You have the freedom to choose when. In the beginning, nobody has the freedom to choose. After maturity, everybody has the freedom to choose. This is Vedanta. Again, I repeat. In the beginning, you got to live a prescribed lifestyle only. While after leading this kind of a lifestyle, you develop an inner maturity that mature person alone can choose. Without inner maturity, you give human being freedom. What happens? That's a problem of today. Nobody is worried about maturity, but everybody wants to be free. What is the fallacy here? Fallacy is freedom is a responsibility, and the responsibility can be handled only by a mature person. For the one who is not mature, what happens? That freedom becomes, for a person who doesn't understand freedom, for a person who doesn't understand freedom as a responsibility, and if you give freedom to that person or that society, what happens? The asuric nature only goes. The Rakshasa nature, the Asura nature only keeps developing. That's what is happening today. Because of the notion what? Freedom. Yes, you don't begin with freedom. You begin with restrictions and then mature, end up in freedom. That's where Vedanta is so satisfying the ego, because you don't have to worry about this, you don't have to worry about that. Even in the same book, there are statements. Do's and don'ts are not for human beings. Then for whom do's and don'ts are? If do's and don'ts are not there for human beings, then do's and don'ts is for whom? Do's and don'ts mean law. Laws are not there for human beings. Everybody has the freedom to choose. Everybody can choose what they want, what they like, correct? In order to make the right choice, they should be able to understand the consequences. Intellect can penetrate and understand the consequences, then it decides what to choose, what not to choose. It's not careless, reckless, impulsive way of choosing, and that careless, impulsive, reckless way of choosing is misunderstood as freedom. Therefore, this disciplines, Achara and all that, talks about a lifestyle, a prescribed lifestyle, not self-prescribed. Carefully follow. Prescribed naale self-prescription கிடையாது. Prescription நால என்ன அர்த்தம்? டாக்டர் கொடுத்ததுக்கு பேர் தான், யாரோ கொடுக்கறதுக்கு பேர் தான் prescription இல்லையா? If you write it by yourself, that is not prescription. And when you write it, how you will write? If you are allowed to write your prescription, how you will write? It will be utterly chaotic, because you don't even know what to do. So, இப்போ என்ன பண்ணிட்டோம், even this prescribed lifestyle எல்லாம் கூட looks like a very high state now. Even this prescribed lifestyle looks like a very high state. We have come to the state of talking that for all this, to do all this, there is an instrument called buddhi, and make use of the. So we have come to that point now. Where do we start? Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, we start. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, we start. And then we say, no, adu konja kashtamā irukudhu. Then we come to sannyasa. Sannyasa means at least lead a detached lifestyle. Oh my God, that detachment itself is very complicated. Then at least lead a life of karma yoga, yajna karma. Oh, that also is too much. Lead a prescribed lifestyle. In order to do all these, you need an intellect. You need an intellect. So we have come to the point of talking about what now? Intellect. Rather than, so we are no more talking about the prescribed lifestyle, we are no more talking about karma yoga, we are no more talking about sannyasa yoga, we are no more talking about nididhyasana meditation. Are you able to follow in the sequence? A person who doesn't even know or develop the intellect go to the other extreme of meditation. That's why we say don't do all that. There is no Achara lifestyle, there is no karma yoga, there is no sannyasa, but how meditation is possible? But sir, Allah தூக்கம் வரும். You get very good sleep. Except for to get a very good sleep, don't go to meditation class என்றால் Vedanta class வந்துருங்க. Vedanta class will give you a much better sleep than that. Why do you have to go to sleep there? You follow? Of the very many practices in the sequence, standardization is one. So don't say standardization equals brahmacharya. You follow? Yes.
Verse 33 is the same chapter 9, verse 33. Bhakti can be a lifestyle or a right attitude behind action.
Yes.
That I'm talking.
Yes.
What you are saying is you have a choice whether to go in a conservative direction or to go exploratory.
Yes.
Now, for leading exploratory direction, who's going to guide you?
Yes.
I'm using the cave metaphor here.
Yes.
I'm bringing the cave metaphor here.
Yes.
Who's going to guide the boy whether he's doing right or wrong?
Correct. The question that he is asking is, we spoke about bhakti as the misunderstanding of bhakti is if I lead a specific lifestyle, that is called as bhakti. Vis-a-vis, bhakti is the right attitude with which you do each and every action. Each and every action of yours is bhakti. Okay, define what is bhakti yoga. What is the attitude behind action? While doing the action, it is called arpana buddhi. In relation to the result of the action, it is called prasada buddhi. That's all bhakti yoga is. What is bhakti yoga? While doing an action, it is done as dedicating, offering. In relation to the result of the action, it is seen as the Lord's prasad. If these two are taken care of, then that person is practicing bhakti yoga, which is what is called attitude. Distinct and different from that is a prescribed lifestyle is given so that this attitude will develop. What had happened is that prescribed lifestyle and the attitude connection, they don't have the connection between that prescribed lifestyle of bhakti yoga and how it is going to develop this attitude. That connection they missed. As a result of which, that prescribed, that lifestyle, we have to call it as mechanical rituals, blind faith, superstitions. Why? Because the lifestyle is followed, but the connecting factor is missing. The attitude part of it is missing. Therefore, we have to call it as it is mechanical. It is because a person is not doing the inquiry as to what it should develop. What is the purpose of this lifestyle? Are you okay till now? This is what is Bhakti Yoga vis-a-vis that lifestyle of. So we're just using words. How to distinguish between the two and Ratha. We are using these words. Now, when a person starts exploring for spiritual practices, for a person to turn spiritual, exploratory nature is essential. Exploratory nature is that which will make a person turn spiritual. There are two natures we said, conservative and exploratory. I remember talking it because he used the word three, no?
Yes.
Since he used the word three, even women. Now, what do you mean, even three? Even women? How? What is it? Patriarchal, chauvinistic thinking, huh? What do you mean by even women? So, in order to explain that, we said there are these two things. One is the conservative nature, another is the exploratory nature. So, that Stri and Purusha is not the physical body Stri and Purusha, it is the mental state of two natures, exploratory and conservative. That's all. Some name has to be given, they gave those names. In exploratory nature, exploration is meaningful when it is done under guidance. Exploration becomes meaningful under supervision, under guidance. That is why the exploration is always done under the guidance of the Guru, the Shastra. The Plato's cave metaphor is talking about a different point. The different point of Plato's cave metaphor talks about this, that person's,
It's one extreme.
that person's determination. That person's determination is what is emphasized in the cave metaphor, in the Plato's cave metaphor. Here, when we talk about exploratory nature, who guides that exploration? The Shastras, the Guru. That's why the example, Atma Bodha, mariner's compass. He is exploring the ocean, but something is guiding. The compass is guiding. Okay, before compass, what was guiding? The sun. Sun. So something always guides the exploration. If the exploration is guided, then only it is a meaningful exploration, leads you into something. Without guidance, it is not called exploration. It is mere impulse. Living an impulsive life, a person can misunderstand that he is living a life of exploration, that one is leading a life of exploration. Exploration means it should be done under guidance. Example, mariner's compass. We all wanted food, and we should know at what time we should. We all wanted food. In order to get food, what we should know? When to plow the land, when to sow the seed, when to harvest. Only if guided, it will yield the proper result. Supposing I am plowing the field at the wrong time, planting it in a different way, there won't be anything for me to harvest. Therefore, all efforts to become meaningful, it has to be guided. It has to be guided. And always there is a body that is guiding it, regulating it. That's why for everything there is a regulatory body. The most subtlest thing, there is no regulatory body at all. That's the problem. For everything in life, there is a regulatory body, isn't it? Somebody decides whether you are an engineer or not. No. Do you self-certify that you are an engineer? Do you self-certify that you are a doctor? Do you self-certify that you are a chartered accountant? You don't. There is somebody deciding that you are qualified now. Why? Because you have gone through the prescribed, you have gone through the process, and then you are qualified. Even though you learned it, you explored, you learned, but somebody decides it. Are you able to follow? When it comes to self-development, intellect, and all that, everybody believes.
Yeah.
Everybody believes that. Everybody's conviction. Everybody believes is what? No guidance is required. I can do it by myself. Just tell me. That's all. Rest I will do it by myself. That way is not an exploratory life. That is the egoistic life. Exploration under guidance means the ego is bending. When it wants to explore without bending, it is just an egoistic, extremely arrogant, egoistic way of living, and that doesn't result in any benefit for that one who's exploring. So the result of exploration itself will not be experienced by that person. You follow? Therefore, exploration has to be done. Exploration implies what? Guidance. Exploration implies guidance.
It could be hidden, it could be Drishya, Adhishta.
It is guided. The guru will say it is the Shastra. The disciple will say it is the guru. That's how it works. Again, I repeat. The guru will say it is the Shastra that guides. The disciple says it's the guru that guides. We say the guru is the problem, know what to do. All the guru is the problem. No, what do we do then? As long as the prescription is working, I don't worry about I go to the doctor, he gives a prescription, and as long as the prescription is working,
Don't bother with the doctor.
that's all. You follow? You
It will
follow?
work. It will work.
It will work. It will work. It will work. Therefore, it is always under exploration, has to be done under guidance only. Guidance means submitting oneself to going down to something. But the self-help, I will do it by myself, and all that is very ego fulfilling, satisfies the ego a lot, but ultimately doesn't result in any progress. That's where you find people come in contact with this knowledge and all that, turning out more arrogant rather than becoming more, rather than seeing any spiritual growth. You start seeing a very arrogant, a very unpleasant, a lot of unpleasantness. Reason is what? The ego selectively the ego listened to a few things. What are the few things that the ego selectively listened to? Uddared atmanatmanam atmanam avadharayet. Raise yourself by yourself. You have to pick yourself up only. Nobody, no guru can help, no teacher can help. So you have to do it by yourself only. Wow, very good. Correct. But then Next statement. Tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena. Know that by prostration, service, and seva. How do you reconcile these two? First he says you got to do it by only you can do it by yourself. Correct. If that is the truth, then the other verse has no meaning. Tad viddhi pranipatena has no meaning. Know that by prostration, service, etc. Because if you are doing it by yourself, why do you have to go on prostrate and do it to somebody else? Are able to follow? But then what it means is, remember, we always talk about the 4 quarters of learning. If you understand that verse, you will understand how each and everything fits in. 4 quarters of learning. 1/4 from Shastra. 1/4 through self-study. 1/4 discussion with Sahabrahmacharis at your level, peers. The last quarter is time. After doing all the 3, wait. After doing all the 3, wait. So these are the 4 quarters of gaining. So when we emphasize one, it doesn't mean the other is wrong. When the glory of one person is said, this is the language they speak. The language is when they glorify one. For example, if they glorify the Ganges river, if they glorify the Ganges river, it is not Brahmaputra or Kaveri is insulted there. When 1/4 is glorified, the other is not seen as redundant. To explain that part will be glorified. So for a comprehensive understanding, exploration means gaining knowledge. Any process of gaining knowledge is exploration. Any knowledge that you gain is only through exploration only. And this knowledge you gained in 4 quarters. Mahabharata talks about this, and Manusmriti also talks about the same verse. 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, they say. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana means somebody is helping you, no? Shravana means you are, the starting point itself is you are being helped by the external first. So it is not about exploration, is always taking help and guidance. You follow? Is it okay?
Yes.
Without that, it becomes without that, it's just an egoistic rush, not resulting in anything.
There are 2 questions here as well. The chat, one comes to other one Kuji.
என்ன போட்டிருக்கிறாங்க?
You're talking about getting into the spiritual path, and most often you get into the egoistic path.
Yes.
There's also saying that whatever it is you're doing,
Yes.
this will benefit.
Yes.
But that is implying a spiritual path.
Yes.
And it says, okay, if I'm doing, I go away next day more.
Yes.
Not about that.
Yes.
Just it is valid, whatever it is. Mechanical action is spiritual, but attitude is egoistic.
Yes.
So, does this get into the development or does it not?
Yeah. The question that she is asking is, action-wise, it looks very spiritual. Attitude is egoistic. Where it leads a person to? Again, the question is, from action-wise, it looks very, very spiritual. From outside, it looks like a very spiritual person. Attitude-wise, it's all only that person is full of ego. Where does it lead? Where does it lead? Depending on the action Either it leads to some punya or it leads to some papa. Technically, punyam means some good merit. Papam is negative merit. Exhaust that papa and punyam and get into the next life with that enhanced ego. Again, what happens to them? They live a life of that punyam and papam is what very poetically called as Varga and Naraka. So that egoistic person will go through the period, will symbolically I'm saying, that egoistic person will live in Swarga and Naraka for a period of time till that merit is exhausted and then comes back into the embodiment with the enhanced ego. Very scary it is, but that's the real. That's a very. This is the reality, but most don't see it in this way. So where it leads the person to? It leads a person to papam and punyam, merit or demerit, leading into swarga or naraka. Exhaust that. Personal. What happens to the personality? Ego is enhanced. The embodiment will be one of a egoistic life.
More egoistic.
So it will be downfall.
Yeah,
From previous level, it is downfall because more ego.
yeah. If we are not evolving, we are devolving. There is no stagnation point at all.
So the mechanical, whatever spiritual stuff you do has more.
It is meaningful to an extent of that punya, and that punya can be more, it can be used. Punya can be a very good conducive environment to grow, to strengthen the intellect, rather than trying to strengthen the intellect in a highly agitated, disturbed thing. Punya is a conducive environment, but not direct. There's no direct causal effect. It's a conducive environment. That's why in the initial stages they talk about lot of, okay, at least to do some punya karma, they'll say. Even if you are not doing karma yoga and all that, at least do some punya karma. That punya karma will result in what? A conducive environment. We saw that, no? In chapter 8. We saw that in chapter 8. You'll be born in the family of wise yogis, where the environment itself will be conducive. It's a conducive environment that it will create. So, at one level, they talk about creating a conducive environment. That conducive environment from a higher standpoint will look like redundant, useless. Again, I repeat. At one level, we talk about developing a conducive environment. From the higher level, that very conducive environment itself looks like a very redundant thing, as in saying wherever you are, you can study. That is the ideal way. Wherever you are, you can study, correct? Theoretically, it is possible, where irrespective of the noise, everything, irrespective of what is happening, you can still sit and study, you can still focus. That is one level. How many human beings are qualified to live life like that? It means how to help them create a conducive environment. That creating that conducive environment is what the prescribed lifestyle is. So the prescribed lifestyle is a conducive environment. In that conducive environment, certain things becomes more, what do I say? More easier. Like we say, when you are concentrating, the TV can run, the music can happen, everything happens, still you can concentrate. Correct. It is correct. For 100, for 98, that won't help. Therefore, they prescribe this lifestyle. And when they prescribed this lifestyle, they were also saying simultaneously, don't get stuck to it. But what happened is either people conveniently stopped doing it or they got, because they say don't get stuck to it. Conducive environment is helpful for a period of time. Again, conducive environment means the shelf life is limited. That's what conducive environment means. It's not there is no permanent conducive environment. Conducive environment means it has a specific period of time. It has a shelf life. In that shelf life, quickly evolve and don't get stuck. When they prescribe the lifestyle, they also said, don't get stuck, because once the shelf life is gone, the same medicine that can cure can kill if expired. Yeah. Poison போட்டிருக்கிறோம். All medicines are written poison. என்ன poison கொடுக்குறான்? All medicines are written poison. It means what? Is it poison? It is not poison, or it is poison. When it turns poisonous, either if the dose is more or expired. Invariably, what do? Either we overdose it, or it is done at the, or taken at the wrong place and wrong time. What is wrong place and the wrong time? Taking it at the wrong place and wrong time. Example, Bhagavad Gita is not a post-retirement plan. Medicine is correct, but taken at the wrong time. Medicine is correct, but taken at the wrong time. So it is like the expired. It is like the expired. It is of no use. Number one. Number two, not only it is of no use, it is poisonous. Therefore, what they did is, these rituals, whatever they had as a spiritual practices, develops psychologically. I'm explaining now. These practices develop an affinity to it. Once you develop an affinity to it, the chances of asking the question, knowing and transcending is easier. That was the plan. Original plan was that. Now it is not being followed. That's a different case. The question is not what is happening today. The question is what happens to that person. What happens to that person? At least that person will gather punya. But what is the use of punya if it is kshine punya? What is the use of punya if it is kshine punya? Means if it is going to diminish, what is the use of it? No. In the period of punya, it is very conducive. So what happens is the punya will diminish, the punya will reduce. But since you have made right use of that conducive environment, you have grown. So when the punya is exhausted, you don't come out with enhanced ego, you come out with more matured individual. That's how it works. It implies what? It implies what? Even when I am leading that so-called lifestyle, again we come back to the same point. When I am leading that so-called lifestyle, it should be done under guidance.
All both the Pandavas and all that, all went to this whole thing and properly. They had
Yes.
so ultimately you can say that the entire Kauravas came out.
Yes. Yes.
So it's like they did not make proper use.
Yes. Yes.
They had their ego, so it
Yes.
backfired.
Yes, it backfired. The question that she is asking is, okay, all the system mandal is very good, but Kauravas and Pandavas went through that system very effectively. They went through it properly, fully. what happened? Ultimately, total destruction. The Pandavas also got destroyed. The Kauravas also got destroyed. The destruction is same in both the cases. It means what? It is not the fault of the system. It is the fault of them not making proper use of the system. Fallacy in thinking is when something doesn't come out properly, one way is change the system. Another way is don't change the system, find the fault and arrest it. There are two ways of thinking. Vedanta is the second way of thinking. For example, okay, I'm just saying I really don't know. I'm just giving it as an example. Supposing, let us say that 30% of the police force is corrupt. 30% of the police force is corrupt. One logic is remove policing itself. Another way is
So you have to correct the system.
try and correct that 30%. Don't remove policing itself. Invariably, what happens when we find something wrong happening, immediately the thinking will always go to change the system, correct the system. Change the system. Why? Because the end block can be removed. That is one way of thinking. Vedanta comes and says the fallacy is, what is the fallacy in that argument? Since 30% of the police force is corrupt, police force itself is not required. Eliminate the entire police system. What will happen?
Yes.
What will happen? That's what happened today. There were few mistakes. There were a lot of mistakes that happened. Instead of trying to fix that specific mistakes, it became so easy to eliminate it became so easy to talk about eliminate the system. It's so easy to talk. And everybody will like that argument. As a result of which, what happened? Even that 70% of the police force is not, even the benefit of that 70% is lost. Lastly, in a conducive environment, seed can be faulty. That's all we are saying. In a conducive environment, the seed can be faulty. So it is the fault of the seed and not the fault of the soil. One thing is to say soil itself is wrong. Another thing is to say soil per se is not wrong. It is the seed at the wrong place at the wrong time, etc. So one thing is change the soil. Another thing is check the seed. Of these two, hybrid or endocyte panalama? Can we do both as a hybrid? Yeah. In the class, Madhuri, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know whether to look at the screen or to look outside, isn't it? More confusing. At least just look at the blank screen. It is now the screen. So can we do both then? In thinking, we have to be very clear. In thinking, we have to be very, very clear. What is it? There is a system. There is an effective system. In an effective system, in a conducive environment, this is where people started talking about discrimination, etc. Because they started qualification, adhikari. When they started talking about the adhikari, it is misunderstood as? You are saying some are qualified, some are not qualified. You are discriminating. You are discriminating. Again, what is the fallacy? If you have to join medical college, you have to pass. You have to pass NEET. You should study biology. That's all. If you have not studied biology, you cannot get into medical college. The qualification is very clearly established. Do you call it as discrimination or essential? What would you call it as? If you want to understand engineering, you go to engineering college, and if you want to understand engineering, or basic calculus, some basic calculus, if you understand, some basic trigonometry, if you can understand, you will understand what is happening in the engineering side. So it means, okay, if they say that unless you do this, you cannot come here, would you call it as discrimination or proper way of functioning? Proper way of functioning. Similarly, they said, in a conducive environment, bring the qualified people, and then in a conducive environment, bring the qualified people. The qualified people, assuming the qualified people will do the right effort. You can have a conducive environment, bring in the qualified people, and still it can fail. Correct? Huh? You can have a conducive environment, you can have a qualified people, and still it can fail. It means what? You have to worry about the conducive environment, you have to worry about the adhikari, and you also have to worry about how to help when there is a failure. Okay, if the person is not adhikari, what do you do? The person is not qualified, what do you do? Get that person qualified. Get that person qualified and then expose. Without preparing, don't expose. Or you can expose. It will be of no use. The danger of Vedanta exposed to unqualified people is what? That's what they always very clearly they talk about adhikaris. What is the problem? What is called as devil quoting the scriptures. The problem of devil quoting the scriptures and Kutarka will develop a lot. Kutarka means Tarka is logic. Kutarka is different logic. Vitarka is proper logic. Kutarka is another Kutarkam pesado, they say. Kutarka is what? Justification. You will know how to. You will know how to justify without any constructive positive development. It just Kutarka it is. So today what has happened is the Kutarka is what is developed. So what they did in the past, they worried about the conducive environment. They prepared the seed in the conducive environment, and the well-prepared seed can still have downfalls and help them also, pick them up also. So what does the Shastra do? 3 things it does. If you are not qualified, it will help you to get qualified. At the same time, after getting you qualified, it creates a conducive environment. In the conducive environment, the qualified person can still make a mistake and fall. So what do? They lift that person up. That's why in the last stages of spiritual journey, when the person understands what all help he had developed, and how he has been failing and how he has been lifted up again and again and again. They develop that extraordinary gratitude to the Shastra. They develop that gratitude. You follow what I'm saying? So what happens is, yes, in a conducive environment, a well-qualified person also can fail. Why? Because the power of the mind at that particular point of time. Because of the power of the mind at that particular point of time, it can bring a downfall. So they keep cautioning, they keep warning and all. Seriya? With this, we conclude for today. And there are 2 more questions which we will take up next week. And then we will move on to the text study. Thank you.